So he's got an attachment style that is avoidant. It's a pain point for people who are anxiously attached, and normally those two will come together. There's that old adage about the fact that if you are securely attached, that is 50% of the population. You've been parented in that way where you can feel safe with people, you can closely connect with them and all that stuff. Those people pair off, usually, not always, which leaves the avoidance and the anxiously attached people. There is a fourth category, which is disorganized, which is both anxious and avoidant, with the other 50%. The irony, and I haven't exactly read this anywhere or done any research on it or anything like that, but I just have a feeling that in the universal space of what is true is that it cannot be just the fact that avoidance and anxious people are attracted together, because that's just the way it is. I think there is like a healing portion in that journey. I think the anxious people are attracted to the avoidance because the avoidant reminds them of the lack of caregiving in their youth, and they're trying to make that feel better in their now present. So for example, you could not get that love and affection from your father who was absent, therefore you find a man who is an avoidant attachment style, and because he's with you, you feel if you win his love, you would have won the love of your father in the epic journey that is life. Same with the avoidant. They are attracted to the anxious attachment style often because it will be reminiscent of their engulfing parents who were controlling, who told them what to do, who, look, anxious attachment and avoidant attachment don't always come from these backgrounds, but a lot of research has shown that they do. So this is the thing you need to understand. This video is for those who, look, it might be useful if you're avoidant too, to help you understand where it comes from and help you understand how people should treat you. Definitely will be useful for you. But I would say this video, I'm coming to it from the point of view of someone who used to be anxiously attached, and I would attract avoidant people and they would be attracted to me just by default. And this video is here to say that I think the journey of those two characters can be a healing one. It's not always like, oh, he's an avoidant, so just throw him in the bin. And the reason I use him is because this channel is mainly a women's channel. If you're a man, welcome. But also because more men are avoidant and more women are anxious. It's just the way society is broken down, and maybe our biology lends to it too. I think this video is here to say that these are the ways that you can deal with an avoidant partner. By deal, I don't mean like deal, I mean like how you can internalize it and process and what you can do to make it better. This healing always starts with leaning towards security. How do you do it? You read a lot. Whether you're an avoidant or an anxious person, you read a lot. I think a lot of women's issues when it comes to relationships come from their attachment and how they perceive men, and you know, becoming so close and enmeshed with them, and men wanting that space. So anyway, at its core, the fear of an avoidant is enmeshment. Where does it come from? What does enmeshment mean? Is that like the squashing of two entities and the loss of your own identity? So literally the opposite of what an anxious person would fear is that if they are around someone for too long, they would literally disappear into the ether. This often comes from when their parents were focused not on interpersonal connection and love and affection and hearing their needs. That child learned at a certain point that their needs would not be heard and met, but they were provided for probably materially. Sometimes they've got disastrous backgrounds where they had no parents at all, and you know, they just learned to rely on themselves, but usually they just had parents who wanted high achievement and no connection. They received a lack of sensitivity from their caregivers, so that's what they expect from those around. So if you've got an avoidant partner, you've got to understand that the reason that they're not open and they're not coming to you, and the reason they act the way they do, is not because they are intrinsically awful and non-human and just want to be this solitary rock out in the ocean, but because they learned very long ago that that is not valuable as a human. What we learn is valuable, let's say, as a secure person, is that connection is good, but they learned that that will be a waste. So Dr. Levin says it's like getting the trust of an alley cat, that they've never known what it's like to really have that connection. So you can rehabilitate that alley cat, but you know, it's going to take time for sure. What are the traits of an avoidant person? You don't know if you've got an avoidant partner or not, okay? They push people away when they get too close. As soon as you feel you've got that like yummy closeness with them, they're suddenly busy and they're pulling away and they're doing all kinds of things to jeopardize it. They lack an emotional closeness in a relationship too. They'll make things a little bit surface. As soon as you start to delve deep into things, they will try and make the relationship a little bit more airy and surface and maybe fun or maybe distant. This one I found very interesting, and that is that they fear intimacy, in terms of they might have a normal sex drive when you meet, but if you guys get too close emotionally, they might start to kind of wane in the sexual department. That's a way to kind of put a barrier between the two of you. And you'll notice that the sexual chemistry comes back if you give them space. At the core of it, they don't trust others. They don't trust others how? I guess to fulfill their needs would be my thoughts about it. They so intrinsically and deeply believe that they are their own keeper and provider that they don't even see how somebody could be useful for that purpose. They won't seek help when they're stressed. So let's say a secure attached person will know when to go for help when they are stressed. You will find your avoidant partner will just isolate and become distant and unloving. So why are they like that? Why are they like that? Their needs weren't met as a child, as I said. So from time and time again, as their needs weren't met, their emotional needs, they learn, okay, how do I satisfy this hole that I have? I have to look after myself, and that is normally through just, getting on with it, isolating, doing their own thing, hobbies, whatever. And their trust was broken in that, so they don't trust other people. They had caregivers that had bad attachment styles, so they could not attach to them. They weren't responsive. I think this is the core of most people's issues, whether anxious or avoidant, and that is their caregiver wasn't responsive. And it's so difficult as a mum, I'm telling you, to always be responsive to a child. And what does that even mean always? Where is the natural and good place? I don't know, but that's what they didn't receive. The child had to be self-reliant. Either their parents were working a lot, either they were orphaned, either their parents were very much there, but they just had a lack of emotional connectivity, that they didn't perceive their child's emotions to be the ones that they were. Stop crying, get on with it vibe. Sometimes if their father was abusive or their mother was depressed. Basically, this person decided to take the world onto themselves and just carry it. There's a lack of playfulness in them. They take things seriously. It's a big deal. This video is for those who want to be with an avoidant person who are. 17 things. Number 1, be patient. If you decided this is your person, you are not going to change them by default of telling them to change. If you are anxious, you know how hard it is for you to change. If I just told you, stop being anxious. What do you mean stop being anxious? It's very, very hard. So you need to make that decision. That is the first number 1 step. You need to make that decision. I'm going to be with this person. I see their good qualities for what they are, and I see their receptivity in me, i.e. they married me or they want to be with me. I believe that. So patience is the key. 2, you need to be a safe place. You cannot always have volatile emotions. They need to be able, and this is difficult because I've had avoidant partners, as I said. If you yourself are working on your own attachment and you err on the side of anxious, you will want to ask questions, or if they say something to you in a conversation, you'll be like, what does that mean? Did you do that? Who was she? Da-da-da. What time did you say? You need to be a safe place to talk to. There needs to be a point where, this alley cat that we said that they were, will kind of start to trust that there is safety in you. Number 3, you need to understand how they view needs. By that I mean, how they view needs is that they learned that if they are needy, if they have needs, if they voice their needs, if they want to be close, they will be rejected. Usually an avoidant was rejected for having human needs, as in emotional needs. So you've got to understand that when this person isn't coming to you and showing you that they need you and all these things, it's not because they are that way. It's because it's been ingrained in their brain that you will reject them if they show you their needs. Number 4, you need to understand that they don't understand the feeling of mutual dependency. The concept of I rely on you and you rely on me and together we grow, and if one of us isn't there, it's difficult for the other, is a very dangerous prospect to them, and they really, really, really built their whole identity on self-reliance. So when they feel that they're starting to lean on you, that's a big problem. Number 5, Very important. Avoid controlling them. If you want to be with an avoidant person, their literal fear and the way it manifests is their fear of engulfment. Engulfment is like a wave that comes, crashes on you and takes you over. And what people tend to do, it's like that self-fulfilling prophecy, like I said, with an avoidant, is ask questions, which can then look like control. So you'll be there, oh, what are you doing? When are you doing? Where are you going? You need to, if you want to be with an avoidant, avoid controlling them. You need to give them that autonomy. Their character in itself is based on that autonomy, and they are very, very sensitive to control. So if you want to get anywhere with them, a liberal approach or a free approach is much, much better than a controlling one. Now, when I'm giving you all these 17 tips, by the way, or 15, we'll see how many we get to, I want you to understand that it's all based on rule number one, that you've chosen to be with them. If you're going to tell me, oh, but they should understand it's not control, or they should da-da-da, I can make a similar video about how to be with an anxious person and how to make them feel calm. So I hope this video gives you some kind of resolution of how to get closer to the avoidant, as opposed to this is how you need to live for the rest of your life. I mean, counseling and therapy would be the ideal solution, but I hope that this can, give you something, because it's worked for me. Number 6, respect their alone time. I like to equate it to a pint and a shot glass. An anxious person or a secure person will need like a pint glass of together time, whilst an avoidant person just by default will need a shot glass. They are not used to it. Again, in this alley cat or stray dog example, they are not used to that level of togetherness. So maybe by being with them for a long, long time, you can build up to that. But you need to respect their alone time. Infringing on it and forcing togetherness is going to be like pouring from that pint cup into the shot glass, and it's just going to get overwhelmed and drown. Engulfment, again, we're envisioning water just being drowned and engulfed. Number 7, this one's hard for me, babe. Don't interrupt their alone time. I'm big to like just come into people's room, be like, what's up? Like, you know what I mean? I'm that one. Don't interrupt their alone time. They need like strong scheduled like togetherness or apartness. Like if you're in the kitchen and they're in the office and you keep constantly yelling out to them, to you would have spent no time with them that day, but to them they would already feel overwhelmed by your energy. The fact that you've been calling out to them, what are you doing? What's on your laptop? They find it very, very discombobulating. They cannot rest with you hanging over them. So it needs to be structured. So when they're alone, they're alone. And when you're together, like at 2 o'clock we're hanging out, you're together, Rule number 8, have your own social circle. Mums, sisters, brothers, social circle. Have that system whereby your pint can be filled up by your social circle and therefore by them. So you guys, if you want to be together, you got to understand they've only got a pint glass of together time to give. Your social circle needs to be built up of a pint glass of them, and the rest of a shot glass of them, and the rest of the pint glass needs to be filled up with other people. If you're big on communication, connection, and security, that's what you're going to need in order for it to survive, because I do not advocate for you to be lonely. That can't happen. But in the adage of the village, there are many roles and many people who can fulfill you, not just them. Number 9, understand that sometimes they can, not through any fault of their own, but use sexuality to create space. So if you've become very, very emotionally close, they might become too busy for sex or become too preoccupied with something else. They will use that as a barrier. I get a lot of questions from women saying, oh, he's not attracted to me anymore or something or other. And the biggest advice I can have is like, just become obsessed with yourself and your own journey and what you're doing, because you will see, not in a week, but in a month or two, when the avoidant sees the lack of energy going into them, they feel the sexual attraction again. Again, might not be fair, might not be for you, but it's the way it is. Number 10, if you take their space and their autonomy personally and say, oh, you don't spend time with me, you don't want to see me, you did this one, that one, the other one, they will take it personally, and instead of feeling like changing, they will spiral into the criticism that they used to feel as a child through whatever avenue that came, and they will feel shame about it, and they will want even more space from you. This is the thing about communication and people advocating that communication is key in all relationships. It's kind of true, but what we understand communication to be isn't what it naturally is. What we think communication is just saying how you feel. But active communication and good communication is knowing who you're also talking to. So if I tell somebody who's secure that they've made me feel this way or another way, they'll take that on board. An anxious person will feel defensive, but they will too. But an avoidant will go into a criticism shame spiral because that's what triggers them, and they will want more space from you because that is their safe space. Their aloneness is their safety. So by you voicing, "Oi, you don't spend time with me, this and that and the other," you would have created exactly what you don't want. And in this scenario, we want to be with them, so that's not what we're going to do. 11, when you say how you feel as opposed to how they made you feel. This one is used in therapy a lot, so I'm sure you've heard of it. But for example, they haven't contacted you for a day. They've been at work. They haven't replied. I feel hurt when I receive no contact. See that? I feel hurt when I receive no contact. You're saying the barometers and the boundaries of who you are and how you want to be treated, as opposed to you hurt me when you didn't reply to my text. Straight away, you're going to get a block, you're going to get space, and you're going to get annoyance. And the point of all these steps is, I guess, to get closer with the avoidant and to create a safe space for them. So eventually they will be able to receive some kind of criticism from you, because there is healing from everything. It has to be. There has to be healing from everything. Like, I refuse to believe that we're all just not able. Number 12, heal yourself so that you can avoid excess emotions. They find emotional roller coasters really difficult to deal with. When I was an anxious attached person, I would create all kinds of roller coasters, and avoidance run away from that. So if you want a constructive conversation, you've got to calm yourself first. If you're in your feelings, they will spook like a horse and run away. 13, compliment, don't criticize. When I advise this on my social medias, I get women saying, "Why? He's not a child. Let me just do what I want. He's a man. He should be able to, yada, yada, yada." I think this one applies to a lot of men, not just avoidant men. And that is, highlight what you like as opposed to what you don't like. Women have a tendency, like the gorilla female, to nitpick and create perfection out of the monkey she chose. And the reality is, it's not just children who need to be praised and loved, and you as a woman need it too. We find it very hard to understand what it would be actually like to be criticized and highlighted all the time. I mean, imagine, men don't do this as often. So imagine if your man was always like, "Oh, why did you sit there? Why did you do that? Why did you touch that cushion? Why didn't you wash that plate? Why are your trousers like that? Why are your socks not matching?" Girl, I know that most women would tell him where to go. So men just kind of shut down about it. So I would say, if you want something done, highlight when he does it as opposed to criticize when he doesn't. Number 14, take your requests and critiques and make them desires that you have. Also applies to all men. This is a really good one. So, "You never take me out anymore. We never go out anywhere," turns into, "I love it when you take me out. I love it when you plan dates." Even if he hasn't. If you see someone walking with flowers, you say, "Oh, I love it when you get me flowers." Not, "You never get me flowers anymore." What am I trying to do here? I'm trying to get you the life you want. That's what I'm trying to do here. It might not be fair, you might not be the first one, but since you're here and you're watching this video, it's telling me that you are the emotional powerhouse in the relationship. That means you're powerful enough to shift the dynamic of your relationship. Take that on. Be that person. Doesn't matter who does it first. I think it should be you, because since you're here. Number 5, if the avoidant partner, if your partner checks out, you see they start looking away, you see they start closing their eyes. My avoidant partner would, do this, like lock down. And my natural tendency would be to, excuse me, see that as a sign of the conversation's over, because they're not receiving, they're overwhelmed, they're engulfed. That the wave has crashed and they are not hearing you. It's the equivalent of as if you're anxious for their partner not to be replying to you and not to be talking to you. So if your avoidant partner has checked out, continue the conversation at another time. 16, for the healing journey to proceed, validate their feelings. They are not used to having their feelings heard or validated as much as you, as the anxious or perhaps secure person, want your feelings validated. They do too. So when they say they feel a certain way, even if you don't agree with it, you need to be there as a platform for their feelings to be acknowledged. They cannot shift their mentality around connection unless they have that safe platform for their feelings to be heard. Number 17, avoidance see life this is the last one, as a win or lose. We got to 17. They see it as if you win their time, they will have lost something, or if you win, they will have lost something because they're not used to connectivity, okay? So you need to explain to them, not like to a child, but just explain to them that I know you want to be alone, and that's cool, but how about we plan a date next week? You need to have an open, almost airy, we both win attitude. If you have a heaviness to you, if you have an engulfing vibe, they will sense it and they will run. All this is from psych literature, books, relationship books. I've got a link in my bio of books I recommend. Check that out. I also put some home stuff in there and some skincare. I love all that stuff, so check that out. And guys, if you cannot be with an avoidant because you are anxious, don't. You need to do, you've got one life, you need to do what you need to do. But understand, every human being has got beauty in them, and the person I just described and how to handle them isn't just that. They are all those things and in between and nuances, and the hope is that you can get to a place of security and with them because you love them. And I think things in life are much more positive when you can see humanity in other people. So I hope this video helped. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye. Let me know what you want to see.